Night had already covered the strange alien moon when Captain Raiden opened his eyes. His ship lay broken behind him, metal pieces scattered like bones across the dark ground. A thin smoke trail rose into the sky, mixing with the cold silver mist that floated between the rocks. Raiden tried to stand, feeling a sharp pain in his shoulder, but he forced himself to move. He knew he had to find supplies, shelter, or something useful before the freezing winds returned. The moon was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind, just a deep silence, the kind that makes even a brave man feel watched. Raiden checked his scanner, but it flickered weakly and died. Great, he muttered, now completely alone in the dark. He grabbed a small light from his belt and walked toward a group of ancient alien ruins he had seen while falling. The structures were tall, sharp, and glowing faintly blue, like frozen lightning trapped in stone. Each step he took echoed loudly, making the silence feel heavier. Something moved behind him. Quick and soft, Raiden froze, his hand moving to his sidearm. Again, a tiny movement, like small feet tapping on stone. But when he turned, there was nothing, only shadows dancing in the cold blue light. Raiden exhaled slowly and continued walking. Inside the ruins, the air felt warmer, as if the walls held long-forgotten energy. He scanned the area with his light, hoping to find tools or anything useful for repairs. Suddenly, he heard a sound. A faint squeak, like a frightened whisper. Raiden spun around, pointing his light toward the corner. Something tiny darted across the floor. Raiden followed it with his light, and his eyes widened. There, standing on a broken piece of crystal stone, was a small creature glowing faint green. She was no bigger than his hand, her skin smooth and shimmering like liquid glass. Two bright blue eyes stared at him with pure terror. It was a small alien girl. She trembled, her tiny fingers curled tight against her chest. Raiden lowered his weapon slowly, not wanting to scare her more. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." But his voice only made her step back. She squeaked something in her language, her voice trembling like a broken bell. Then she shouted a single word that Raiden translated from his universal translator. "Monster!" Raiden blinked, confused. "Monster!" he whispered. The tiny alien girl pointed at him and repeated the word again and again. Her whole body shook so hard she almost fell from the stone. Raiden raised both hands slowly to show he meant no harm, but she saw the movement and panicked. She tried to run, but her glowing foot slipped on the smooth floor. She fell, and Raiden instinctively reached out and caught her gently before she hit the ground. The moment his large hand closed around her small body, she screamed. Her voice was full of fear. "No! No, don't eat me!" she cried in her language. Raiden froze, shocked. "Eat you?" he whispered. "Why would I eat you?" But the tiny alien girl clearly believed humans were dangerous. Her eyes were filled with old stories, old fears. Legends passed through generations to her. Humans were giant beasts who devoured small aliens like snacks. Raiden could hear her rapid breathing, each breath shaky and terrified. He placed her gently on a soft cloth from his pocket. Giving her space, she curled into a small ball, shaking, waiting for the end. Raiden sat down slowly, keeping a safe distance. He did not want to force her trust. He only wanted her to calm down. Minutes passed slowly. The tiny girl opened one of her eyes to peek at him. Raiden did not move. He simply sat there, staring into the glowing ruins. Finally, she whispered in a soft, trembling voice, Why you not eat me?" Raiden sighed. "Because I don't eat people," he said gently. The alien girl blinked, confused. Her fear slowly changed into curiosity. She sat up, tiny and glowing. Raiden smiled softly at her. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Leary." Her voice still shaking but no longer screaming. In that moment, Raiden understood something important. This tiny alien girl was alone, scared, and hiding from something far worse than him. Something dangerous was out there, watching them both from the shadows of the ruins, and Leary knew it. She pointed toward the darkness with her tiny hand and whispered, "They are coming." The silence around them suddenly felt alive. Raiden tightened his grip on his weapon. The real danger was just beginning. The cold ruins trembled softly as Leary whispered those 3 words. "They are coming." Raiden's heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He did not know who they were, but he could see real terror in Leary's glowing blue eyes. Whatever hunted her must be far more frightening than a crashed human. He stood slowly and looked around, scanning the shadows with his hand light. Leary remained on the cloth, her small body shaking. She looked like she wanted to run, but she also wanted to stay near Raiden. Fear and curiosity were fighting inside her. Raiden crouched down to her level and spoke in a gentle voice. "Leary, who is coming?" Leary hugged her tiny knees and whispered, "The metal ones." Raiden froze. He knew that name, or at least something close to it. There were rumors across the outer colonies about self-guided machines that hunted living things, machines that drained energy and left only dust behind. Raiden tried to hide his worry. He did not want Leary to panic more than she already did. "How many?" he asked quietly. Leary's glowing skin flickered like a dying firefly. "Too many," she said. "They come for the crash." "They always come for energy." Raiden understood what she meant. His ship still gave off a faint energy source, even when damaged. It would be like a beacon calling those machines toward them. He grabbed a toolkit and started checking the ruins. For any hidden exits, he needed a safe place, or at least a place where he could defend both of them. Leary slowly stood up, keeping a few steps behind him. She watched every move he made, her bright eyes tracking him like a curious child watching a giant animal. Raiden noticed her staring and offered a small smile. "You don't have to be scared of me," he said softly. Leary looked away quickly. I try not to be," she whispered. "But my people say humans eat us." Raiden sighed but kept his voice calm. "I don't eat anyone," he said. "I help people." Leary blinked at him, unsure if she should believe his words. She walked closer, very slowly, step by step. Her tiny bare feet made no sound on the smooth stone floor. She peeked at his toolkit, eyes wide with curiosity. "What is this?" she asked, pointing at a metal wrench. "A tool," Raiden replied. "I use it to fix things." Leary looked shocked. "You fix things?" she said, as if it were something magical. Raiden nodded. "Yes, fixing things is better than breaking them." Leary touched the tool gently, then pulled her hand away. She had never touched human metal before. It felt strange but safe. This confused her even more. Maybe her people were wrong about humans. Maybe humans were not monsters after all. But before she could think more, a distant mechanical sound echoed through the ruins. A sharp clicking noise, like metal claws scraping against stone. Leary instantly jumped and ran behind Raiden's leg. Hiding like a terrified child, her tiny fingers gripped his uniform, trembling hard. "They are near," she whispered, her voice shaking. Raiden placed his hand protectively in front of her. He did not know why, but he felt a strong need to keep her safe. A small creature like her would stand no chance against metal hunters. He lowered himself and lifted her gently in his hand. "Stay close," he said. "We'll get through this." Leary's eyes widened as she sat in his palm. Her fear was still there, but something new was forming trust. She held onto one of his fingers like a rope. "Why you help me?" she asked softly. Raiden answered without thinking. "Because you're alone. And because you deserve to live." Leary stared at him for a long moment. Her glowing blue eyes softened. No human in her stories had ever spoken like this. No human had ever protected instead of hunted. Maybe Raiden was different. The clicking sounds grew louder. Raiden moved deeper into the ruins, carrying Leary carefully. He found a narrow passage hidden behind a fallen pillar. It was dark but safe at least for now. He placed Leary down gently and blocked the entrance with debris. "Stay here," he whispered. Leary shook her head quickly. "No," she cried. "Don't leave me. They take small ones first." Those words broke his heart. He knelt down and looked her in the eyes. "I'm not leaving you," he promised. "I'm making sure we both survive." Leary's tiny hands reached out and touched his wrist. "Then I help too," she said, gathering courage she did not know she had. Even in fear, she wanted to stand with him outside. The metal hunters marched closer. Their red lights flickered through the cracks of the ruins. Raiden took a deep breath. Leary held onto his arm, and together they waited as danger crept toward them. The fear between them slowly changed into something stronger, a shared bond. Leary no longer saw a monster. Raiden no longer saw a stranger. They were two survivors facing the darkness together. The ruins were silent again, but this silence felt different. It was not the quiet of an empty place. It was the quiet of something waiting. Raiden pressed his back against the stone wall of the narrow passage, keeping Leary close, his ears focused on every faint noise outside. Metal scraped against rock in slow, heavy movements. The sound repeated, rhythm-like, as if the creatures were scanning the ruins step by step. Leary trembled but tried not to make a sound. She clung to Raiden's sleeve, her tiny body glowing faintly. He gently tapped her hand, signaling her to stay calm. A distant thud echoed, then another. Raiden recognized the pattern. "Harvesters," he whispered. Leary's eyes widened in fear. "They destroy everything," she whispered. "They took my family." Raiden felt a tightness in his chest. He suddenly understood why she was so afraid of everything. She was not running from humans. She was running from machines that hunted anything alive. Raiden peeked through a crack between stones. Outside he saw a tall, spider-like machine moving slowly through the ruins. Its legs were long and sharp, each step tapping like a knife on glass. Red lights blinked under its dark shell as it searched for energy sources. A smaller harvester crawled beside it, scanning the broken walls. "They're tracking the crash energy," Raiden whispered. His ship was still giving off a weak power signal. It would draw the machine straight to it, and then to them. Leary pulled on his sleeve, her voice shaking. "They will take your energy too," she said. "They drain everything alive." Raiden knew she was right. If he did not move soon, the machines would find them. But he also could not fight them head-on, not with a damaged weapon and a tiny alien girl to protect. He needed a plan. He crouched beside Leary, meeting her eyes. "Do you know these ruins well?" he asked. She nodded softly. "My people lived here long ago," she whispered. "We had many tunnels and hiding places." Raiden's mind raced. "Can you show me a way to the upper tower?" he asked. Leary blinked in confusion. "Why the tower?" "Because I need a vantage point," Raiden answered. "I can scan the area from above and distract the harvesters." Leary stared at him for a moment, trying to understand his bravery or his madness. "You want to fight them?" she asked. Raiden did not answer directly. He simply said, "I want to survive. And I want you to survive too." Leary's cheeks glowed brighter. She looked down, shy but touched. No one had protected her since her people fell. Now a giant human she feared moments ago was risking his life for her. "Okay," she whispered. "I show you," Raiden nodded. He moved aside the rocks covering the entrance and stepped out quietly. Leary climbed onto his shoulder, gripping his collar. As they moved through the shadows, her small glow helped him see cracks and hidden paths in the ruins. They slipped into a narrow tunnel. The walls were covered in old carvings, showing Leary's people tiny glowing beings like her, living peacefully. Raiden felt a deep sadness for what had been lost. Leary touched one of the carvings gently. "My mother used to bring me here," she whispered. Before Raiden could answer, a loud metal screech echoed behind them. A harvester had discovered the tunnel entrance. Red light poured inside. Leary gasped and held tight to Raiden's neck. "We must move," she cried. Raiden ran through the tunnel, his footsteps echoing as the harvester chased them. The machine's metal claws scraped against the stone floor. Its red sensors scanned the passage, growing brighter each moment. Raiden's breath grew heavier, but he did not stop. Leary pointed ahead. There! She shouted, the tower climb! They reached a vertical shaft leading upward. Ancient metal rungs were built into the wall. Raiden grabbed the first one and pulled himself up. Leary held on tightly, trusting him completely. The Harvester entered. The shaft below, its red lights rising slowly like a demon climbing from the underworld. Raiden climbed faster. The tower was not far now. But the Harvester moved with frightening speed. Its claws reached for Raiden's boot. Missing by inches, Leary screamed. Raiden pushed harder. Reaching the top ledge and rolling into the tower chamber, he quickly pulled a broken beam across the opening. Slowing the machine below, Leary collapsed against his chest, shaking. You saved me, she whispered. Raiden placed a gentle hand on her back. I told you, he said softly. We survived together. But as he stood and looked out from the tower window, he saw something that made his breath stop. In the distance, across the moon's dark surface, dozens of red lights were moving toward the ruins. The Harvesters were not just hunting, they were swarming. And Raiden realized the truth. This moon was not just dangerous, it was becoming a battlefield, and he and Leary were right in the middle of it. Asterisk, the tower chamber shook softly as more distant red lights appeared on the horizon. Raiden stood near the cracked window, watching the swarm grow larger and brighter. Leary sat on a broken stone block behind him, hugging her knees, her glow dim with worry. She had never seen so many Harvesters gathering in one place. Her tiny voice shook as she spoke. They come for all energy. Your ship, the ruins, and us. Raiden clenched his jaw and turned toward her. He whispered, then we need to stay ahead of them. But deep inside, he knew their chances were shrinking each minute. The Harvesters were attacking like a tide of metal and red lights. They were not just hunters, they were cleaners. They erased anything alive, anything warm, any spark of life. Leary forced herself to stand, even though her legs trembled. She walked toward Raiden with careful steps. Her small fingers touched his hand, surprising him. You are not like the humans from our stories, she said softly. You protect. You care. Raiden knelt so he could look her directly in the eyes. I don't know what your stories say, he whispered. But I'm not going to leave you here. Leary blinked slowly, her glow brightening with a shy warmth. This moment felt strange to her. She never thought she would find safety near a human. Yet here she was, standing beside one giant human who risked everything for her. Raiden checked his damaged scanner, tapping its side until it flickered to life. The screen showed energy signatures, some weak, some strong. Among them, a large power signature lay deep underground beneath the ruins. Leary saw the flashing point and gasped. That is the core hall, she whispered. It holds ancient power. Maybe strong enough to hide us. Raiden raised a brow. Hide? Leary shook her head. No. Maybe protect. Maybe fight. Her words were unsure, but hopeful. Raiden studied the map again. The core hall might be their only chance. Can you take me there? Raiden asked. Leary nodded slowly. I know the way, she whispered, but it is dangerous. Old traps, broken paths. Raiden smiled a little, trying to comfort her. I think we've already had enough danger for one day, he said. Leary gave a tiny laugh, a soft trembling sound, but it was a laugh. The first peaceful sound since they met. Raiden gathered his tools, and Leary climbed onto his shoulder. This time not out of fear, but out of trust. She held his collar tightly. As he moved, he climbed down from the tower using the old ladder. His boots hit the ground just as the distant metal footsteps grew louder. They slipped into a hidden passage behind the tower wall. Leary guided him with small taps on his neck. Left turn, right turn, climb, duck. Every direction she gave felt natural. Her people had lived in these ruins long before the machines came. And now she led a human through the same sacred halls. After a long climb, they reached a wide chamber filled with glowing blue vines. Energy hummed softly in the air. Raiden stepped forward carefully, amazed. The vines lit the whole room like stars trapped in crystal threads. Leary touched one of them. her tiny fingers glowing brighter when she did. My people used these to heal, to grow, to power our tools. She whispered. Raiden nodded. There. Beautiful, he said. Leary tilted her head, studying Raiden's curious expression. Humans do not fear beauty? She asked. Raiden chuckled softly. No, he replied. We fear losing it. Leary's glow softened again. She realized humans felt more emotion than her stories said. As they moved deeper, the chamber led to a long, spiraling staircase going down. Wind blew up from the depths, warm and thick with old energy. Leary wrapped her arms around Raiden's neck as he started descending. This place is safe from harvesters, she whispered. They do not understand the ancient paths. Raiden was about to reply when he heard a metal crash above. The harvesters had broken into the tower room. Leary gasped. They follow the heat, she cried. Raiden hurried down the stairs, each step echoing like a drumbeat. Finally, they reached the core hall, a giant circular chamber with a glowing sphere floating in the center. The energy hum was loud, warm, alive. Raiden stared in awe. Leary whispered, This is the heart of my people. Raiden approached the glowing sphere slowly. He reached out a hand, feeling the warmth. Leary stood on his shoulder, eyes wide with hope and fear. This power can stop them? Raiden asked. Leary hesitated, then whispered, If we use it. Together. Maybe. Raiden turned to her. Then we will, he said firmly. Leary touched his cheek gently. She whispered, You are strange for a human. But I am glad you came here, for the first time. She wasn't afraid. For the first time she wasn't alone. The bond between them grew stronger in that ancient hall. A tiny alien girl and a lone human, standing together against the metal. Darkness, but above them, the ruins trembled again. The harvesters had found the passage. Their red lights spilled down the stairs like falling stars. Raiden and Leary only had moments left. Their only hope now was the core and each other. Asterisk, the walls of the core hall trembled as the heavy metal footsteps echoed from above. Raiden looked up toward the staircase, watching red lights leak down the spiraling passage like drops of blood. Leary pressed herself against his neck, trembling, her tiny glow flickering like a candle in storm wind. They are close, she whispered. Very close. Raiden tightened his grip on his weapon. He knew the harvesters were designed for one purpose: seek life. Extract energy, leave nothing behind. The core sphere pulsed brighter, sensing danger. Its light cast long shadows across the cracked stone floor. Raiden took a deep breath. Leary, we need to think fast, he said. If they reach this hall, we have no escape. Leary looked toward the glowing sphere. This power, maybe. It can hide us, she whispered. But we must activate the ancient shield, Raiden frowned. Shield? Leary nodded quickly. My people use the core to protect themselves from storms and enemies, she said. But only those linked to the core may use it. Raiden understood. So you, he said softly. Leary nodded again. Yes. But I am small, she whispered. And the core is strong. Too strong. The metal steps grew louder, closer. Raiden knelt beside the sphere. Tell me what to do, he said. Leary blinked at him with disbelief. You trust me to control ancient power? She asked. Raiden smiled gently. I trust you more than those machines, he whispered. Leary placed her small hands on the core. A soft hum responded to her touch. Her glow brightened, spreading through her tiny body like flowing energy. Raiden watched in amazement. The core recognized her. It accepted her. But the moment was cut short by a sharp metallic scream. A harvester dropped into the chamber, its red eye burning like fire, its legs extended, tapping the floor with deadly precision. Raiden stepped in front of Leary instantly, his weapon raised. Stay behind me, he commanded. The harvester launched a beam of red energy toward Raiden. He rolled aside, the beam slicing through stone like butter. Leary cried out, Raiden! But he was already on his feet, firing back. The shot hit the harvester's leg, slowing it but not stopping it. Another metal shape slid down the wall, then another. Raiden gritted his teeth. 3 harvesters, all targeting the core hull, all targeting Leary. The smallest harvester scanned Leary with bright red lasers. Life form detected, it announced in a metallic voice. Leary froze. Raiden. They know, she whispered. Raiden fired again and shouted, keep working. Activate the shield. Leary closed her eyes and focused. The core glowed brighter, responding to her fear and hope at the same time. Energy waves rippled across the hall floor, but the shield was still not active. The machines attacked again. One harvester leaped from the wall, its claws aimed at Leary. Raiden lunged forward, grabbing his dagger and slamming it into the machine's sensor. Sparks flew. The harvester stumbled backward, confused but recovering fast. Raiden breathed heavily. He knew he could not keep this up for long. Leary, hurry! He shouted. Leary pressed her palms harder against the core. Her glow spread into the sphere like streams of starlight. The core vibrated louder. The ancient energy waking from its long sleep. Suddenly a bright pulse shot out of the core. A wave of blue light raced across the room, throwing the harvesters back. Raiden shielded his eyes. Leary cried out as the energy passed through her tiny body. But the machines recovered quickly. Too quickly. We need more power. Raiden shouted. Leary nodded weakly. There's a second control chamber above, but the path is broken, she whispered. Raiden grabbed her gently and placed her on his shoulder. Show me, he said. As they ran, the harvesters tore through the hall walls. Sparks rained like burning snow. Leary pointed toward a narrow passage above the core sphere. Raiden climbed the tilted stone ramp, breathing hard as debris fell around them. A beam of red light shot past his face. He ducked low, protecting Leary with his hand. They reached the upper platform. Leary scrambled down his shoulder and ran toward a small glowing console. This is the ancient control, she said, but only my energy can open it. She placed her hands on the console. It lit up slowly. Symbols glowed in soft blue patterns. Responding to her touch, a sudden loud crash shattered the moment. A harvester climbed the ramp behind them, red eyes burning like molten metal. Raiden stepped between it and Leary. Tightening his grip on his weapon, he shouted, keep going. Don't stop. The harvester lunged forward. Raiden fought it with everything he had. His weapon sparks flashed in the air. The machine slammed him back, knocking the wind from his lungs. Leary screamed his name again, but she kept her hands on the console. Fighting fear with courage, energy exploded from the control panel. A bright sphere of blue light expanded around the core hull. It spread outward like a giant bubble. The shield was activating. The harvesters froze as the wave reached them. Their lights flickered wildly. Their systems malfunctioned. Raiden pushed himself to his knees. Breathless, the shield fully unfolded, covering the entire hall in glowing blue energy. Inside the shield, Raiden and Leary stood safe. Outside, the harvesters slammed against the barrier, screeching in frustration. Leary collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Raiden rushed to her and picked her up gently. You did it, he whispered. Leary nodded weakly. But this is only the beginning, she said, because the shield could only hold for a short time. And the swarm outside was growing bigger every minute. Their true fight was still ahead. Asterisk. The blue shield shimmered around the core hull like a giant glowing bubble. Outside it, the harvesters swarmed like angry metal insects. They slammed their sharp legs against the barrier, each strike sending bright sparks into the darkness. Raiden felt the floor vibrate under his boots. He knew the shield was strong, but not strong enough to last forever. Leary sat weakly in his palm, her tiny body dimmer than before. She had used too much energy to activate the shield. Raiden studied her worriedly. You need rest, he whispered. But Leary shook her head, glowing faintly. No time, she said softly. The shield will break soon. Raiden looked around the hall, searching for any sign of escape or hope. But all he saw were old symbols, broken stones, and the ancient core now beating like a giant heart. The hum of the core vibrated through the air, warm and powerful. Leary pointed at it weakly. "There's another way to stop them," she whispered. Raiden leaned closer. "What way?" he asked. Leary swallowed hard, fear mixing with determination. "The core has a hidden pulse. A powerful blast," she said. "It can destroy all harvesters on this moon." Raiden's eyes widened. "That sounds like exactly what we need," he said. Leary lowered her head. "But there is a price," she whispered. Raiden felt a knot grow in his chest. "What price?" he asked quietly. Leary touched the core with trembling fingers. "This ancient power can only be released from inside," she whispered. "Only someone small, someone like me, can enter the conduit." Raiden froze. The meaning was clear. If she entered the conduit, the energy could overwhelm her. Leary. "No," he said firmly, but she shook her head, her tiny glow flickering brave and sad. "My people built this core," she said softly. "We knew someday it might be needed. But only one of us could activate the final pulse." Raiden looked down, struggling with the fear growing inside him. He had only known Leary for a short time, but she had become more than a strange alien to protect. She was a friend, a brave, innocent soul who deserved to live. "I won't let you sacrifice yourself," Raiden whispered. Leary placed her small glowing hand on his thumb. "You saved me when I thought humans were monsters," she said. "You showed me kindness. You showed me courage." Her voice trembled. "Now I must be brave too." Raiden looked away, his jaw tight. Outside the shield, the harvesters slammed harder and harder. Cracks of red energy spread across the barrier. Time was running out. Leary climbed to Raiden's shoulder and touched his cheek, her tiny fingers warm against his skin. "I am not alone anymore," she whispered. "And I want you to survive." Raiden closed his eyes. He felt his heart shake at her words. He gently placed his hand beneath her. "But I can't lose you," he whispered. Leary smiled sadly. "You won't," she said. "Part of my light will stay with you." The shield cracked loudly. Red sparks flew. Raiden knew they had seconds left. He looked at Leary one last time. Her glow was soft but determined. A tiny warrior ready to face a giant danger. "Tell me what to do," Raiden said, his voice shaking. Leary pointed at a narrow opening inside the core's base. "The conduit is there," she whispered. "You must lift me in. And then protect the core from the harvesters until the pulse is ready." Raiden carefully approached the core. Its heat intensified with every step. The air crackled with ancient power. Leary stood in his palm, facing the opening with steady eyes. "I am ready," she whispered. Raiden tried to speak, but no words came. His throat felt tight. Everything inside him screamed to stop her, but the pounding metal outside reminded him why they were here. If Leary didn't act, they would both die, and the harvesters would continue hunting others. He lowered his hand to the conduit. Leary stepped forward with tiny but brave steps. She turned around one last time. "Raiden," she said softly. "Yes," he whispered. "Thank you for showing me humans can be good," she said. "And thank you for not eating me," she added with a weak smile. Raiden let out a choked laugh. Even in the face of danger, she joked, he would never forget. Her Leary entered the conduit. Her glow disappeared inside the core. Raiden placed his hand on the warm surface. "Come back to me," he whispered, even though he didn't know if she could. Outside, the shield shattered. The harvesters rushed in, screeching with hunger for energy. Raiden stood in front of the core, weapon ready, protecting Leary's last chance, protecting the final hope. As the core began to glow brighter than ever, preparing for the pulse, preparing to save them all. The core glowed brighter with every passing second. Its light pulsed like a beating star. Raiden stood before it, weapon raised, breath heavy, heart shaking. Outside the shattered shield, the harvesters swarmed into the hall. Their red eyes locked onto him, their metal legs tapping like blades. On stone, the first harvester lunged forward. Raiden fired, hitting its sensor and forcing it to stagger back. Another harvester crawled up the wall. Trying to leap down from above, Reagan dove aside. Rolling across the floor and firing again, sparks flew, metal screeched, and the machines tightened their circle. Behind him, the core hummed louder. The entire hall vibrated. Ancient symbols glowing on the walls. Reagan gritted his teeth. "Come on, Leary," he whispered. "I'm holding them off." But he could not see her. She was deep inside the conduit. Alone in the darkness of the ancient core, inside the machine heart, Leary crawled through the narrow glowing tunnels. Energy flowed around her like streams of fire and water mixed together. The heat burned her skin, but she kept moving, her small hands pushed forward, her body shaking with each pulse of power. She whispered to herself, "For Raiden, for my people, for hope." The energy grew stronger. It wrapped around her like a living force. She felt her body weakening, her glow flickering. But she reached the main crystal node, the center of the ancient pulse. It towered above her like a giant sun. Trapped in stone, she touched it with both hands. A burst of energy shot through her tiny body. Back in the hall, Raiden felt the surge. The core exploded with light, illuminating every corner of the chamber. The harvesters paused for a brief second, confused by the energy wave. Raiden used the moment to strike one machine directly in the processor. The harvester collapsed, twitching and lifeless, but three more rushed forward aggressively. Raiden blocked one with his arm and fired point blank at another. Pain shot through his shoulder as a metal claw cut into his armor. But he refused to fall. He refused to fail Leary now. He shouted, "Come on! I'm still here!" The core's light became blinding. A deep rumbling echoed through the hall. The harvesters turned their red sensors toward it. Sensing a threat, they backed away in panic, their metallic voices glitching. Energy surge critical, inside the conduit. Leary felt her strength draining away, but she held onto the crystal node with all the courage she had left. She whispered one last time, "For Raiden, please live." Then she pushed all her remaining energy into the core. The world exploded in white-blue light. A massive pulse shot outward like the breath of a newborn star. It blasted through the walls, pillars, ruins, and far across the moon's surface. The harvesters screamed in mechanical agony as the pulse hit them. Their bodies cracked, sparked, and then disintegrated into dust. Raiden was thrown backward by the blast, landing hard on the stone floor. His ears rang, the world spinning around him. When the light faded, he blinked slowly, trying to see. Every harvester in the hall was gone. Only piles of ash and molten metal remained. The core dimmed slowly, returning to a soft, gentle glow. Raiden pushed himself onto his elbows. "Leary?" he whispered, voice breaking. He stumbled to his feet and rushed to the core, his chest tight with fear. "Leary, where are you?" He knelt beside the conduit opening. The silence was painful. He feared the worst. Then he saw it, a tiny, faint glow inside the darkness. "Leary," he whispered again slowly. A small figure crawled out of the conduit, weak, trembling, glowing softly like a fading ember. It was her, Leary. Raiden gently scooped her into his hands. She was barely conscious, her glow dim but alive. "You did it," he whispered. "You saved us." Leary opened her eyes slowly. She smiled weakly. "I thought I would become light forever," she whispered. "But I came back." Raiden let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He held her carefully against his chest. "You came back because you promised," he said. "And you kept your promise." Leary touched his chin with her tiny fingers. Her glow warmed slightly at his words. "You protect me," she whispered. "And I protect you." Raiden looked around the hall. The moon was safe now. The machines were gone, and the core was no longer threatened. The ruins felt peaceful for the first time in years. When Raiden carried Leary outside, the sky was clear. The stars shone bright above the broken world. Leary sat on his shoulder, breathing softly, her glow slowly returning to life. Raiden looked at the horizon. My ship can be repaired now, he said, but I don't want to leave without you. Leary smiled gently. I do not want to be alone anymore, she whispered. Raiden extended his hand. Come with me, he said. Let's explore the stars together. Leary stepped into his palm, her tiny glow shining with hope again. I will, she whispered, because you are not a monster. You are my friend, Raiden smiled, and together they walked toward a new future. A tiny alien girl and a human explorer. Two unlikely souls joined by fear, courage, and light. Their adventure was only beginning.